My corporate girlfriend's male assistant tore up my appointment letter as vice general manager right in front of everyone, declaring that he was the one Lu Ruyan had designated. It wasn't until the meeting ended that Lu Ruyan explained that the reason she promoted and increased Xia Chang's salary, even spoiling him excessively, was entirely because he held proprietary patent technology. She did this purely for the company's development, hoping I would endure it for a while. However, I knew clearly that Xia Chang was lying, yet not only did I not get angry, but I instead praised Lu Ruyan's brilliant maneuvering and willingly offered to share the burden with her. At the time, Lu Ruyan thought I was completely unaware, and she was touched that I could understand her suffering. Until the next day, the person who constantly advised me to be tolerant flew into a rage when she saw me personally driving a new female intern around and picking her up, even giving her 9,999 roses to confess my feelings, and immediately ordered her dismissal. But I only smiled, because that was Li Qingya, who was actually a young lady from a prestigious family concealing her identity. I was only doing this for the company as well. I told her, bear with it a little longer. Once I secure the investment to list the company, I will definitely break up with her and marry you. Hearing me say that, Lu Ruyan instantly froze, seemingly not expecting that one day she would have to taste the same manipulative methods she had always used to control me. She looked at me for a long time, then suspiciously asked, Zai Cheng, are you jealous of Xia Chang again? I've explained countless times, I only approached him to obtain the patent technology in his hands. Can't you endure it a little longer for me? Tell me the truth, how far have you and that intern named Li Qingya progressed? Where is she now? I looked at Lu Ruyan, who was now suspicious and incessantly questioning me, and involuntarily recalled when she made an exception to hire Xia Chang, a man who had been unemployed at home for 3 years, as her personal assistant. At that time, she explained that she had visited his house 3 times before he agreed. It was because Xia Chang was a technical genius, and the patent technology in his hands was enough to help the company stand firm in the industry. Since Lu Ruyan was only responsible for business and not technical matters, I felt uneasy and asked one more question, exactly what patent did he have? Unexpectedly, she immediately got angry, saying I was too controlling, and that instead of being jealous without cause, I should focus on improving my own abilities. Yet now, it was Lu Ruyan, the one who constantly told me I was too controlling, who wanted to dig up the family history of the intern. People with double standards are no different from gods, not humans. I laughed coldly and tossed her a photo. In the photo, the family head of the Li family, one of the 4 great aristocratic families, was smiling intimately while personally handing assets over to that intern, Li Qingya. Perhaps feeling that I couldn't possibly marry a wealthy young lady like Li Qingya, Lu Ruyan sighed in relief and lightly punched my chest. Why didn't you tell me about such a big matter sooner? I told you, why would you abandon our relationship of several years? So it turns out you plan to take advantage of the naive young lady of the Li family to trick her into giving you investment capital. Your mind does have a few tricks. Yet, hearing these words come out of Lu Ruyan's mouth, I only felt bitterness. Clearly, she was the one who first abandoned the 7-year relationship between us. Back then, Xia Chang had been with the company for less than a month when he accidentally saw Lu Ruyan and me strolling in the shopping mall. The next day, he submitted his resignation, saying his heart was broken and he didn't want to continue working. That evening, Lu Ruyan immediately discussed with me pretending to break up, saying that if she was single, it would be easier to approach Xia Chang and obtain the technology in his hands. It was all for the company, for me, and she hoped I would understand. At that time, I believed her, even cooperating with her to act out the breakup, moving out of the house to live separately. Yet just one day later, Lu Ruyan, who hadn't posted anything on her moments for over a year, publicly announced her romantic relationship with Xia Chang. Meanwhile, she and I, after 7 years together, had never gone public, and shared photos were extremely rare. Besides my parents, most people around us thought I was still single. It wasn't that I hadn't brought up going public, but Lu Ruyan always had seemingly reasonable excuses. It's enough for 2 people to be happy together, why care about outsiders' opinions? Happiness is yours, it's not for showing off. Don't assume that people who flaunt affection online are being genuine, who knows, they might be fighting fiercely behind the scenes. I once thought I was too concerned with appearances, too mindful of others' judgments, which was why I tolerated her behavior. Yet, in the blink of an eye, a year passed, and not even the shadow of the patent in Xia Chang's mouth had appeared. Every day, besides playing games in the office, he would drag Lu Ruyan out to have fun. If it were anyone else, they would have long suspected Xia Chang was a fraud and fired him. But Lu Ruyan stubbornly held her ground, saying, "Geniuses often have special personalities. Xia Chang just likes to have fun a little. When the company runs into trouble, he will be the trump card to turn the situation around." Therefore, Lu Ruyan not only always favored him, but to suppress doubts from others, she even transferred my achievements to him. To ensure Xia Chang could remain at the company, Lu Ruyan did not hesitate to dump all my achievements onto him. Xia Chang, on the other hand, felt no shame. Instead, he was unbearably arrogant. Enjoying my achievements, he still criticized my poor technical skills every day, saying that if it were him, the achievements would have doubled long ago. Even colleagues began to feel that something was wrong, constantly gossiping behind their backs. Yet, Lu Ruyan remained unmoved. Instead, she ruthlessly fired all the staff who were secretly gossiping. It was then that I gradually realized that Lu Ruyan might have truly changed her heart. I was just about to open my mouth when Xia Chang walked straight into the office without bothering to knock. Lu Ruyan looked as if she had been caught doing something illicit. She immediately let go of my hand, her face full of panic. "Xia Chang, why are you here?" I laughed coldly. It seemed that in Lu Ruyan's heart, Xia Chang was the official boyfriend, and I was just a mouse who dared not face the light. Seeing the smile curling on my lips, Xia Chang intentionally showed off the employee badge around his neck that read, "Vice General Manager," then mocked, "Oh, it turns out it's the ex-husband. Why don't you give up and die, coming here to harass my Ruyan again?" Well, that figures. With your garbage level of technical skill, only someone with a wall-thick face would continue clinging to the company. If it were me, I would have smashed my head in and committed suicide long ago. Hearing Xia Chang's ridicule, I wasn't angry. I even found it funny. On the very first day Xia Chang joined the company, he dared to smash my computer right in the meeting, claiming the lines of code I wrote were trash, and that it was a miracle the company hadn't collapsed yet. He pretended to fix a few lines, and the result was that the system completely crashed that night. The entire department had to stay up all night saving data, ultimately still causing millions in losses. Yet he not only refused to admit fault but blamed everything on me, saying the architecture I designed was too poor, unable to withstand his god-tier technical skills. I couldn't be bothered to argue with such a rogue, and I turned around and left the office. Xia Chang acted as if he had won a battle, and even deliberately boasted loudly about his technical ability from behind the door. I shook my head, and as soon as I returned to my desk, a pineapple bun was offered to me. Being dragged into the office for a lecture early in the morning must have made you hungry. Li Qingya rested her chin on her hand, smiling brightly at me. I accepted the bun, my heart warm. Even after more than 10 years, Li Qingya still remembered what I habitually ate in the morning. Speaking of which, Li Qingya and I were not newly acquainted, we were childhood sweethearts. Back when my father was still alive, the two families even planned an engagement. Later, I gradually got to know and got together with Lu Ruyan, while Qingya chose to study abroad. Now she has returned from her studies abroad. Hearing that I had broken up with Lu Ruyan over the matter with Xia Chang, she came to the company to find me. For her, working as an intern was just a way to experience life. Since knowing that Lu Ruyan had changed her heart, and she and I had officially broken up, I started accepting Li Qingya's good intentions. Once, I had a fever and couldn't go to work. Qingya not only inquired about my health bit by bit but also took leave to bring medicine and porridge right to my house. Meanwhile, Lu Ruyan didn't even ask a single question. Instead, she said I was weak and disrupted her work plans, then ruthlessly deducted half a year's worth of my bonus. To love or not to love is truly shown in the smallest details. If Lu Ruyan had cast aside all decorum for Xia Chang, then why should I continue to suffer in silence? I lightly touched the diamond ring in my pocket and knelt on one knee on the floor. Immediately, the entire office staff widened their eyes, simultaneously stopping work and buzzing excitedly. This posture, is Director Zhe going to propose? Li Qingya only started working here a few days ago. Is this love at first sight? Go for it, Miss Li. Our Director Zhe is famous for being a good man, you definitely won't regret it. The commotion spread. Lu Ruyan walked out of the office, snapping, "It's not working hours yet, what's all the noise about? Is there any decorum? Do you still want to work overtime?" But before her words finished, she saw me kneeling on one knee, proposing to Li Qingya, holding the ring. The folder in Lu Ruyan's hand suddenly thumped to the ground. Because Lu Ruyan had never publicly announced her relationship with me, none of the colleagues in the office noticed her coal-black expression. They continued to cheer, "Kiss her, kiss her." Sure enough, before I could even take the ring out, Lu Ruyan dragged me straight into the meeting room, not allowing me a single word of explanation. The moment the door closed, Lu Ruyan grabbed my tie, grinding her teeth as she interrogated me. "Zai Cheng, what kind of trick are you pulling now? Just because Xia Chang called you ex-husband, you couldn't control yourself, threw a tantrum, and proposed to Li Qingya. What do you take me for?" I looked at Lu Ruyan's aggressive, out-of-control appearance and only felt ridiculous. That question should rightly be coming from me. Hearing Lu Ruyan and Xia Chang publicly announce their relationship, their 100th post, which even Xia Chang couldn't remember, Lu Ruyan could still recount every second of that public moment with perfect clarity. She spent millions to buy up all the fireworks in the city, organizing a spectacle of the century to celebrate her love with Xia Chang. The person who normally squeezed the budget and gave staff no breathing room, surprisingly gave the entire company a day off just to celebrate the 100th post. She hired the most luxurious banquet hall in the city center, hosting a celebration so grand that many reporters thought they were covering a high society wedding of the century. Yet, when I used the exact same method she had used to treat me to respond, she couldn't handle it. And I had endured this for an entire year. I decided to mimic the idealized tone that Lu Ruyan often used to lecture me in the past, pretending to speak sincerely. "Li Qingya is a wealthy young lady, after all. Only a proposal would make the Li family truly take notice and be willing to inject investment capital. This is all for the company, for our future. I didn't expect you wouldn't understand my struggle, and instead get angry at me. If you can't accept it, then let's forget about this investment." I deliberately sighed. Upon hearing those words, which were more than familiar, Lu Ruyan's expression subtly changed. After a moment, she forced a strained smile and pulled my hand to explain. "Zai Cheng, I was just worried about you. I was afraid you might let slip a mistake, allowing the Li family to find out and target you. In my eyes, your safety is 100 times more important than that investment." Hearing her spout such hypocrisy, her eyes, which once moved me, now only made me sick. She wasn't worried about me, she was only afraid of failing to secure the investment and seeing her efforts go down the drain. Thinking this, I opened my phone and showed her the digital copy of the investment intent letter. As soon as she saw the round number of 20 million on the contract, Lu Ruyan immediately hugged my face, kissed me with a loud smack, and cheered, "Darling, you're amazing. Once the investment money is in the account, let's go register our marriage." I quietly wiped the saliva mark off my cheek with my hand, my face expressionless. I had brought up marriage with Lu Ruyan more than once. At first, she said she wanted to devote all her energy to her career, and we would revisit it when the company stabilized. Later, after I helped the company stand firm in the industry, she claimed her family didn't approve of me, but she still wanted to marry me, only she couldn't steal the household registration book. More recently, the policy changed, requiring only a national ID card to register our marriage. When I pressured her, she finally agreed. However, right at the door of the Civil Affairs Bureau, she claimed she had lost her ID and needed time to get a replacement. I waited for 3 months, yet she kept using the excuse of being busy and having no time to process the paperwork. Now, seeing that the capital injection was possible, she was so happy that she proactively brought up marriage, sparing no manipulation. But at this point, I no longer wanted to marry Lu Ruyan. Compared to the endless lies and meaningless excuses, I cherished Li Qingya's sincerity more. A moment later, as if something suddenly occurred to her, Lu Ruyan quickly grabbed her phone, typed a few messages, and then turned back to me. "Honey, I have to go meet a client later, let's celebrate today another time. And while I'm gone, don't you dare be lazy. If you don't finish your work, don't even think about getting the reward for your jealousy." With that, she grabbed her bag and hurriedly left. But I was standing very close just now, and I clearly saw that she was sending a message to Xia Chang. The first thing she does with money in hand is take Xia Chang out to celebrate and indulge. It seems she truly cares about Xia Chang. Perhaps they are currently discussing which hotel to book for tonight. But Lu Ruyan forgot one thing. I smiled coldly and scrolled down to the bottom of the investment intent letter. The section clearly stated that the form of capital injection this time was from the Lee Group, which was correct. But I never said the company receiving the capital was Lu Ruiyan's company. The company receiving the investment was the private studio I had established outside. When Lu Ruiyan's company first started up, the situation was extremely difficult. Even now, the capital chain is still strained, lacking sufficient budget for projects, leading to continuous technical errors and declining reputation. With no other choice, I found a few friends and set up a private studio, taking on technical contracts at a cheap price to help Lu Ruiyan solve project issues. Now that it was time for us to part ways, I also needed to plan for my own future. The Lee family is a prestigious clan. To be worthy of Lee Qingya's genuine affection, I must prove my own capabilities to gain the Lee family's recognition. After discussing with Qingya, I re-registered the company under my own name, preparing to start my own venture with the investment from the Lee family. I was contemplating my next step when my phone unexpectedly rang. It was Xia Chang, sending another photo. Every time Lu Ruiyan went on a date with him, Xia Chang never missed an opportunity to mock me, his ex-husband. This time, he sent a picture of an appointment decision. Ex-husband, didn't expect this, did you? All I had to do was whine a few times to get the S-level project, the one the company bet tons of money on, and become the project manager. And what about you? Working overtime at the company every day, what use is that besides wasting electricity? In the end, you're not even as good as me, just a few words opened up this opportunity. If I were you, I would have been too ashamed to pack up and get out of here long ago. I only found it amusing. Xia Chang is famously useless, and trusting such an important project to him would only make the company collapse faster. At this point, I was completely certain that Lu Ruiyan was not only unworthy of being a girlfriend but was also completely incapable of managing a company. However, Xia Chang inadvertently reminded me, it was time to decisively cut ties with Lu Ruiyan. I decided to go home, pack my luggage, and move out. Since Lu Ruiyan and I pretended to break up, we lived in the same apartment complex but in separate units. At the time, she used the excuse of avoiding Xia Chang's suspicion. Now, it was convenient for me, preventing me from getting entangled with her any further. I finished packing late at night, wished Lee Qingya good night, and quickly went to rest, preparing to leave the next morning. But early in the morning, I was awakened by the delicious aroma of food. At first, I thought Lee Qingya had come to pick me up, but when I opened my eyes, I saw Lu Ruiyan in the kitchen, watching a cooking instruction video while furiously tossing a pan. It must be known that Lu Ruiyan hated the smell of grease the most. She had never cooked before, and couldn't even stand having a hint of smoke on her clothes. Because of her, I had to quit smoking, yet today she suddenly changed her tune. While I was still surprised, a news report popped up on my phone. Tens of millions in capital mysteriously vanishes. What future awaits the Lu Group? I chuckled faintly. So, Xia Chang knew clearly that he had no patent technology and would be exposed sooner or later. Thus, on the very night he was appointed project manager, he took all the project's circulating capital and fled abroad. Lu Ruiyan had intended to use this project to make a large profit and resolve the financial crisis, so she didn't hesitate to stake the company's entire cash flow on it. Now, all was lost, and the company faced the risk of collapse. Her only hope was the 20 million investment I had secured from Lee Qingya. Immediately after, Lu Ruiyan brought the breakfast over, smiling radiantly. "My dear, eat quickly before it gets cold." Just hearing that saccharine endearment made me nauseous, and I instantly lost my appetite. Seeing I didn't touch a bite, Lu Ruiyan managed a strained smile, trying to change the subject. "Oh right, how is your investment coming along? Has the Lee family transferred the money?" It seemed she was truly panicked, not even bothering to maintain her facade anymore. I gave a cold smile, opened my phone, and showed her the company's account balance. Seeing the 20 million had landed in the account, Lu Ruiyan's eyes instantly lit up. She lunged forward to hug me, screaming happily, "Darling, you are wonderful. I knew you could do it." "That's right, you're right. Xia Chang is a total fraud. I've broken up with him already. I'm not busy today. How about we go register our marriage right now? I brought my ID with me." Lu Ruiyan truly took me for an idiot. Before, she used the excuse of a lost ID right at the Civil Affairs Bureau. and for months she used the excuse of being busy to avoid replacing it. Now, everything was prepared. She flipped faster than turning a page in a book. Thinking this, I decisively pushed her hand away. Who said I want to register our marriage with you? Didn't we break up a long time ago? Without waiting for her reaction, I opened the investment contract, flipped to the page with the signature, pointed to it and said, "The Lee family invested, but did I ever say they invested in your company?" Seeing the recipient section clearly list the company under my name, Lu Ruiyan's eyes became vacant. "When did you secretly open a private company?" I burst out laughing. "You can open a shell company to funnel money to Xia Chang, but I can't start a real venture." Hearing this, Lu Ruiyan trembled slightly, asking, "How did you know about that?" I clearly only told Xia Chang. I merely shrugged. "Instead of worrying about that, you should think about how to explain to the board. That loss of tens of millions, how do you plan to handle it?" I stood up and pulled my suitcase, my voice calm. "Li Qingya is waiting for me to eat at our new home. Lu Ruiyan, take care of yourself." As soon as I finished speaking, I turned to leave, but Lu Ruiyan bit her lower lip, unexpectedly pulling me back hard. Because the force was too great, the engagement ring I hadn't managed to give Li Qingya fell out of my pocket and rolled across the floor. Lu Ruiyan picked it up, paused momentarily, then, as if something dawned on her, she suddenly laughed smugly, hands on her hips, looking at me provocatively. "No wonder you've been so unusually obedient lately. Not only did you deliberately stage scenes of affection with Li Qingya in front of me, but you also pretended to want to start your own business. So, you finally know how to be jealous, huh? You even know how to play the hard-to-get game now." Lu Ruiyan chuckled. All right, I give up. You can propose to me now." As she spoke, she held out her left hand, waiting for me to slide the ring on. But I just smiled coldly. "General Manager Lu, why don't you take a closer look at what is engraved inside this ring?" Hearing this, Lu Ruiyan lowered her head and looked inside the ring, then her face flushed. "I can't believe you're so thoughtful, even engraving both our names on the wedding ring." But in the very next second, the smile on her face froze. Engraved on the inside of the ring were the names, Zhe Cheng and Li Qingya. Lu Ruiyan's mind felt as if it had been forcefully struck, completely blank. She refused to believe it, turning the ring over and over, even trying to scratch away the engraving with her fingernails, but the words remained as sharp as new. There was no way they could turn into her name and mine. "No, impossible," Lu Ruiyan whispered, staring fiercely at me with bloodshot eyes, her voice trembling as she yelled, "Zhe Cheng, are you crazy? Didn't you only approach her to get investment money for the company? How could you? How could you actually be with her?" While the scream still echoed in the room, the door was pushed open from the outside. Li Qingya walked in, carrying 2 empty cardboard boxes, standing proudly at the door, her brows slightly raised. "I came to help him move. We made plans beforehand." She stepped into the room, her cold gaze sweeping over Lu Ruiyan's pale face and the ring on the floor. Then she let out a sneering laugh. "How is his being with me any of your business? General Manager Lu, you are someone who kicked Zhe Cheng away for someone else long ago. Shouldn't you worry about your own affairs instead?" Lu Ruiyan bristled like a cat whose tail has been stepped on, instantly raising her hackles, pointing at Li Qingya, and angrily shouting, "You fox spirit, what dirty tricks did you use to seduce my man?" Slap! A crisp sound echoed in the living room. I retracted my hand, the stinging sensation on my fingertips not yet gone, and looked straight at Lu Ruiyan, my voice icy. "Lu Ruiyan, watch your words. Don't insult my fiancé." I deliberately emphasized the 3 words "my fiancé." "We broke up ages ago. Weren't you ecstatic when you and Xia Chang went public?" Lu Ruiyan covered her face, looking at me in disbelief. A moment later, her tears finally burst forth. No matter how unreasonable or unruly she had been before, I had always been the one to tolerate and protect her unconditionally, but now I had struck her for another woman. That shock was enough to utterly shatter the last remnants of Lu Ruiyan's pride. I couldn't be bothered to look at her heartbroken appearance. I held Li Qingya's hand and pulled my luggage, preparing to leave. "Don't go." Lu Ruiyan suddenly hugged my arm tightly from behind. "Zhe Cheng, tell me, over the past 7 years, did you ever love me even a little?" Her voice trembled, carrying a final flicker of hope. I looked at her, only nodding faintly. "I did. But that love had been completely worn away by her own actions, in every instance of favoritism towards Xia Chang. However, my nod, in Lu Ruiyan's eyes, was the coldest and most heartless admission. She froze, her face turning as white as a sheet of paper. Suddenly, her eyes fell on my wrist, instantly lighting up as if she had grabbed a life-saving straw. Lu Ruiyan smiled brightly. You said you don't love me anymore, so why are you still wearing the watch I gave you? I followed her gaze. It was a slightly old mechanical watch, the gift Lu Ruiyan bought me with her first half-month intern salary when I graduated. She once said, "The business world is a battlefield. A man needs a good watch when he goes out so he won't be looked down upon." At that time, I was so touched I nearly cried, promising to make her the happiest woman in the world. Afterward, I plunged into work frantically, just to stabilize her career sooner. Seeing me frozen, a flicker of hope shone in Lu Ruiyan's eyes. "Zai Cheng, I know you still haven't forgotten the past 10 years. Me too, I haven't forgotten either. It's my fault, I was wrong. Can we pretend nothing ever happened and start over?" She looked at me, those eyes once captivated me, but now I only felt disgust, without a trace of affection. I turned my wrist, took off the watch. While Lu Ruiyan's eyes contracted, I threw the watch straight into the trash can in the corner. I curved my lips, flashing a cold smile. "Thanks for reminding me. I almost forgot to throw away this garbage." Having said that, I stopped looking at her and turned to Li Qingya. My expression immediately softened, and I smiled gently. "Wife, remember to buy me a new one." Li Qingya looked up and smiled sweetly at me, her eyes shining with indescribable tenderness. "Yes, darling husband. Which brand do you prefer? Patek Philippe or Vacheron Constantin? Just choose, I'll pay." That single, "darling husband," was no different from the fiercest slap directed right at Lu Ruiyan's face, which had lost all color. Her whole body staggered, nearly losing her footing. I paid no attention, held Li Qingya's hand, and turned to leave. The wheels of the suitcase rolled on the polished floor, making a harsh clack-clack sound, as if crushing the last shred of dignity remaining in Lu Ruiyan. "Stop," she finally recovered from her despair, her voice hoarse but cold as ice. "Zai Cheng, I'm giving you one last chance. If you dare to walk out that door with this woman today," she paused, a cold, bitter laugh echoing in the empty living room, "from now on, we are officially enemies. You clearly know the Lu Ti Group's position in the industry. A dead camel is still bigger than a living horse. I have enough ways to ensure your small, shabby company receives 0 orders. Complete ruin. Think clearly for yourself. Threatening me will not lead to a good outcome." I finally turned around, a sarcastic smile curving my lips. Looking at Lu Ruiyan's face, distorted by rage, I only found it laughable. She still thought she was the high and mighty general manager of Lushar, thinking the whole world still revolved around her. Unfortunately, the rotten ship she was piloting was about to be smashed to pieces by the waves of time. I opened my mouth indifferently, my tone deliberately revealing intimacy. "Wife, let's go." With that, I led Li Qingya by the hand and left without looking back. Behind me was the sound of smashing porcelain and Lu Ruiyan's piercing screams, but I never turned my head. After settling Li Qingya in, I immediately drove to the company. The moment I stepped into the office, before I could even warm my seat, Assistant Xiao Zhang rushed in like a storm, not bothering to knock, his face frantic, urgently yelling, "General Manager Lu, it's not good, something huge has happened." I didn't even lift my head, leisurely brewing myself a cup of Dahongpo oolong tea, asking softly, "What's the rush?" Xiao Zhang was nearly in tears. "General Manager Lu, it's Lu Ruiyan from Lushar. She announced she's using all her industry connections to blacklist us. She even said, anyone who dares to cooperate with our company is an adversary of Lushar. Several clients who already signed contracts have called to cancel their orders. What should we do now? Even with the 20 million investment, it's useless without orders." I lifted the teacup, gently blowing on the floating tea leaves, the faint aroma diffused into the air. I casually glanced at my empty wrist, then at the wall clock, 4:30 p.m., right on time. I took a sip of tea, calmly saying, "Don't worry, her company will definitely collapse today." At the same time, in the general manager's office of the Lushar Group, Lu Ruiyan smashed the raw porcelain tea set she cherished the most, Her chest was still constricted, unable to breathe properly. But when she thought of Zai Cheng's small company about to fall into despair, a feeling of satisfied revenge surged within her. She curved her lips, whispering into the mirror, "Zai Cheng, you're still too young to fight me. Without my support, you are nothing." She was convinced that in less than half a day, Zai Cheng would be kneeling and begging her to come back. When that happened, she would surely make him break up with Li Qingya right in front of her, kicking that fox spirit out ruthlessly. While Lu Ruyan was still immersed in her own delusions. Bang! The office door was forcefully kicked open. The human resources manager stumbled in, his face pale, sweating profusely. Lu Ruyan tightly knitted her eyebrows, coldly scolding, "Why the panic? Have you lost all decorum?" The HR manager panted heavily, his hand trembling so much he almost dropped his tablet, his voice shaking. "General Manager Lu, the technology and marketing departments, both rooms, have all submitted their resignations. They said they want to follow General Manager Lu Zai Cheng." Lu Ruyan's pupils contracted violently. The thought that they wanted to follow Zai Cheng was like a poisoned needle plunging straight into her heart. Her mind went blank for a few seconds. Immediately after, a monstrous rage swept away all remaining rationality in Lu Ruyan's head. She slammed her hand down on the precious Wangwali wooden desk, her entire body trembling, letting out an angry moan. "Chaos, it's all chaos. I pay their salaries, not Zai Cheng. A bunch of ungrateful wolves." Lu Ruyan's eyes burned with fire, staring at the HR manager as if she wanted to incinerate him, then yelled, "They can pack up now, but don't even dream of getting a penny of compensation. Furthermore, I will personally write remarks in every single one of their records to see who dares to hire them in this industry afterward." However, the HR manager only shook his head in despair, his already pale face now as white as old paper. "General Manager Lu, I've told them everything, but they said they won't accept even a single dollar. They accept that they might not find another job, they just want to follow General Manager Lu." That sentence was like a bucket of ice water poured directly over Lu Ruyan's head, extinguishing all her anger and shouting, leaving behind only a bone-chilling coldness. She was paralyzed. It turned out that Zai Cheng's influence over the company had reached this magnitude. Just one order from him was enough to drain Lu Ti, to its roots, reducing the shell she was once so proud of to nothingness. She had always thought Zai Cheng was just a vine clinging to the Lushur big tree, but now she was utterly shocked to realize that the fool was her. She had personally thrown away a gem that could overturn the entire industry, only to elevate a mere liar like Xia Chang to the heavens. Lu Ruyan's chest began to ache in sharp spasms, as if hundreds of needles were stabbing it. Regret? It's too late for regret now. She took a deep breath, forcing herself to regain the air of a female CEO, straightening her back. Trying to appear composed, she coldly huffed, "Good, clearing out the treacherous gang is right. There's no shortage of people these days, is there? You immediately post a recruitment notice for me, offering double the salary. I don't believe we can't hire people." The HR manager pursed his lips, his gaze evasive, trying to dissuade her, "But General Manager Lu, I'm afraid the company account doesn't even have enough funds to pay this month's salaries." Lu Ruyan's entire world seemed to collapse. "Shut up!" She screamed uncontrollably like a stepped-on cat. "You don't need to worry about the finances. I will figure something out. That's right, I know a very capable investor. As long as he agrees to inject capital, as long as there's new investment, everything will get better." She spoke incoherently, unclear whether she was reassuring the HR manager or hypnotizing herself. "Go immediately and cancel all my afternoon meetings. I need to go meet the investor." The HR manager, feeling reprieved, stumbled out. The office door slammed shut, and the world fell silent. Just a second ago, Lu Ruyan was still trying to maintain her cold, arrogant demeanor, but in the blink of an eye, everything collapsed. Her entire body felt drained of strength, and she slumped onto the expensive chair. "Investment? There is no investor left. That was just a lie to comfort myself." In her heart, she knew better than anyone, Lushur was finished. A thought suddenly flared intensely in her mind: escape. She had to flee immediately before the news spread, before the bank froze the accounts. As long as she escaped abroad, she wouldn't have to carry this lifelong debt. Lu Ruyan sprang up, grabbed the branded handbag on the table, didn't bother to turn off the computer, and rushed straight toward the office's side door that led to the emergency exit. She couldn't use the main door. She couldn't let the staff know she was planning to escape. The sound of her heels hitting the cold cement steps of the emergency exit echoed in distinct clack-clack-clack rhythms, sounding like the final funeral bell for a failure. Finally, she saw the metal door at the bottom of the stairs, with exit clearly written on the sign. Freedom was right ahead. Lu Ruyan was overjoyed, practically lunging forward. But the next moment, several figures appeared, blocking the doorway, causing the joyful smile on her face to freeze. The men wore police uniforms, their eyes stern. The leader saw her appear, slowly pulled an identification card from his pocket, and coldly said, "You are Lu Ruyan, correct?" The man's voice carried no emotion. Lu Ruyan's heart immediately plummeted into the abyss. A fear like the sky collapsing instantly gripped her throat. In the very next second, the police officer's measured voice rang out like a death sentence. "Ms. Lu, you are suspected of tax evasion and embezzlement of public funds. Please come with us for investigation." Hearing those words, Lu Ruyan's mind went blank again. She didn't do it. She absolutely couldn't have done that. She only listened to Xia Chang's suggestions to sign some reasonable documents to avoid taxes and transfer capital flow. Xia Chang had said that all big companies did this. How could it be against the law? She panicked and took a step back, hitting the cold metal door behind her with a sharp clang. "You're mistaken, I didn't do it, I don't know anything." She shook her head desperately, her disheveled hair sticking to her pale face, looking utterly wretched. "Someone must have framed me, it must be." Her eyes darted around in terror, then suddenly landed on a figure standing in the shadows in the corner of the hallway, a familiar, tall silhouette. Lu Ruyan's pupils contracted violently. "Zai Cheng, is that you?" Sure enough, it was him. I just stood there silently, holding a folder of documents, my eyes holding a coldness she had never seen before. I slowly stepped out of the darkness. The sound of my leather shoes echoed clearly in the empty corridor like distinct steps crushing Lu Ruyan's collapsing nerves. The corner of my lips lifted slightly, though my voice was soft, every word clearly reached her ears. "Lu Ruyan, stop struggling. The more you thrash about, the more you disgrace yourself." But the moment she saw me, Lu Ruyan found a semblance of rage. All her fear and despair transformed into mad resentment, screaming wildly, "It's you, you must have framed me. All these charges are fabricated by you, you want to ruin me, you want to ruin Lucia, don't believe him. I abandoned him, so he is taking revenge out of hatred." In her eyes, only I had both the motive and the capability to do such a thing. I only shook my head faintly, a look of disdain in my eyes. "Lu Ruyan, you always thought yourself clever, didn't you?" I looked straight at her, every word striking like a nail. "The person who reported you to the police was not me." Lu Ruyan fiercely contracted, her sneer completely froze. "No, impossible." She mumbled as if hearing an absurd tale. "If not you, then who?" The leading police officer seemed to have lost his patience, coldly glancing at Lu Ruyan, and said, "Miss Lu, Mr. Lu is not lying. The person who filed the report and provided all the crucial evidence is Xia Chang." Xia Chang. The name was like a bolt of lightning striking Lu Ruyan's head. Her entire body stiffened as if petrified on the spot. The man who once swore eternal love, the man who made her believe she had found true love, the man for whom she didn't hesitate to turn against me, personally destroying everything, how could he? The police officer's voice continued, cold and heartless, crushing her last bit of hope. After pocketing the last remaining funds in the company account, Xia Chang fled abroad overnight. He indulged in lavish spending at an overseas casino and was noticed by local police. During coordinated investigations, we apprehended him. To receive a reduced sentence, he proactively confessed the entire affair, including how he instigated you to sign fake contracts, how he fabricated the accounting books, and even transferring company funds into his personal account. All the evidence was provided by his own hand. In that moment, Lu Ruyan's entire world completely collapsed. She lost terribly, defeated by her own stupidity and naivete. The love she believed in was, from beginning to end, nothing more than a carefully calculated conspiracy. The life-saving straw she clung to turned out to be the devil pushing her into hell. Thud. A heavy sound echoed, Lu Ruyan's knees gave out, and she collapsed, prostrating herself before me. The woman who once hated me enough to tear me to shreds now clung desperately to my leg like a cornered dog, tears and snot streaming down her face. Lu Ruyan no longer cared about any dignity, wailing like a desperate soul. Zai Cheng, brother Zai, I was wrong, I truly realize my mistake. Please help me, I beg you, just this once. It was all that bastard Xia Chang who harmed me. I didn't know anything. She cried until she was nearly suffocated, her voice hoarse with lamentation. As long as you help me get out, I'm willing to do anything for you. Company shares, houses, cars, I'll agree to whatever you want. I can be your servant, I don't need any title, just to be by your side. Please, I don't want to go to jail, I don't want to carry a debt I can't repay even in a lifetime. Looking at Lu Ruyan's haggard, wretched state, stripped of all self-respect, even the police officers nearby couldn't help but show disdain. I lowered my head, silently looking at the woman before me, the one who no longer even maintained a semblance of humanity. Her face was covered in tears and profound regret. There was a time when this face was radiant, when it made my heart flutter, but now, all that remained was baseness and calculation that made one sickened. I shook my head indifferently. Lu Ruyan, you are the same as before, utterly without boundaries. My voice was calm, so calm it carried no emotion whatsoever. Hearing this, the hands gripping my legs suddenly paused. I slowly withdrew my foot, stepping back, widening the distance between us, a distance she could never cross again in this lifetime. You must pay for your mistakes, this is the price you deserve. Having said that, I didn't spare another glance, turned, and walked away. Behind me was Lu Ruyan's gut-wrenching, desperate wail, interspersed with the cold voices of the law enforcement officers, take her away. Afterward, Xia Chang was sentenced to 10 years in prison for grand fraud, falsification of financial documents, and other charges. Lu Ruyan was sentenced to 3 years in prison for tax evasion and embezzlement of public funds. The Lusher Group, due to severed cash flow, officially declared bankruptcy, entering the asset liquidation process. Lu Ruyan not only lost everything but also carried an enormous, unrepayable debt. Waiting for her after prison was a life even more desperate than the one behind bars. As for my company, after taking on Neosher's core technical team and market system, it thrived like a tiger with added wings. A year later, we launched a completely new artificial intelligence system, thoroughly changing the entire industry landscape. That achievement also earned me the recognition of the Li family, and they finally consented to the marriage between Li Qingya and me. On our wedding day, sacred music echoed in the church. I stood at the end of the red carpet, my eyes fixed on the girl dressed in a pristine white wedding gown, her smile as bright as a flower, advancing towards me step by step under the radiant lights. She was the only light during my darkest days, and the entire hope for my brilliant future. I looked at Li Qingya, unable to suppress a gentle smile. In the next moment, I embraced all the blessings of the world, stepping onto the stage that belonged to my own future.